Have you ever been there? That moment in the grocery store aisle, or perhaps in the hushed atmosphere of a relative's living room, or maybe the seemingly endless expanse of the park, and you hear your own voice, gentle but firm, saying something like, "Sweetheart, please stay close to Mom and Dad here, it's busy." Or, "Honey, remember our quiet voices inside." Or maybe, "Let's leave the toys on the shelf for other kids right now." And then, crickets. Or rather, the opposite of crickets. The child keeps running, or the voice gets louder, or tiny hands are reaching for things that definitely don't belong to them, utterly oblivious, or seemingly so, to your words, your tone, your presence even. Your heart sinks a little, doesn't it? There's that familiar flush of frustration, perhaps a hint of embarrassment if other people are around, and the quiet, nagging question: why aren't they listening? It feels like disrespect, doesn't it? Like you're being completely ignored in the very moments where you need cooperation the most, where safety or social norms are on the line. It's one of the most common, most challenging moments in parenting. These public displays of a child's will clashing with your expectations, and it can leave you feeling drained, defeated, and unsure of how to respond effectively without resorting to yelling or threats that you know, deep down, aren't the lasting solution. This feeling of being unheard, of witnessing behavior in public that makes you cringe internally, is something nearly every parent experiences. It's not a reflection of your failure as a parent, or necessarily intentional defiance from your child, at least not in the way we adults often interpret it. Instead, it's often a collision of a child's developmental stage, their needs in that moment, and the complex demands of navigating the adult world. Here on the Family Connection Hub, we're all about building understanding and strengthening those precious bonds, even when things feel challenging. So, in this conversation, we're going to gently explore these common scenarios: the supermarket dashers, the park adventurers who wander too far, the restaurant yellers, the curious little hands in someone else's home, and look at them not just as moments of misbehavior, but as opportunities to connect, to teach, and to respond in ways that are both effective in the moment and build a foundation of respect and cooperation for the future. We're going to dive into some practical, compassionate ways to navigate these situations, moving away from frustration and towards connection and understanding. Let's start by shifting our perspective just a little. It's the first core idea, and it's perhaps the most crucial: understanding the child's world in that moment. When your child is running through the aisles, or speaking at top volume, or grabbing at displays, it doesn't necessarily start as a conscious act of, "I am going to ignore Mom and Dad to make their life miserable." While testing boundaries is absolutely a part of development, often in these public, stimulating environments, children are operating from a very different place than we adults are. Think about a supermarket through a child's eyes. It's a world of bright colors, interesting shapes, perhaps tempting smells and sounds. There's so much to see, so much energy buzzing around. For a young child, their impulse control, the part of the brain that says, "Wait, stop, think before you act," is still very much under construction. They might see open space and feel an irresistible urge to run, not because they want to defy you, but because their body is full of energy, and that space looks like an invitation to move. They might see a shiny object or a colorful package and reach for it because their world is one of sensory exploration. They learn by touching, by experiencing. When they're excited or overwhelmed, their voice might naturally get louder because they haven't yet fully mastered regulating their volume based on the environment. Similarly, a park, while designed for running, still has boundaries. Your child might run further than you're comfortable with, not out of defiance, but because the freedom feels exhilarating, and the concept of staying close within a large open area is abstract for a small mind focused on the joy of movement. In a restaurant, the novelty, the people, The waiting can be overwhelming or boring, leading to restless energy or loud expressions. In someone else's home, the environment is new and full of unfamiliar, interesting things, and the child's natural curiosity drives them to explore with their hands, forgetting the rule about asking permission, especially if that rule is relatively new or inconsistent. When we interpret these actions solely through the lens of adult disrespect or disobedience, we often react from a place of frustration and power struggle. We might raise our voices, threaten consequences, or physically try to control the child, which can escalate the situation and damage the connection. But when we pause and try to see it from their perspective, acknowledging their developmental stage, their possible overstimulation, their genuine, though inconvenient, impulses, we can approach the situation with more empathy. This doesn't mean we excuse the behavior, but it changes how we respond. So the first step, the foundational shift, is to remind ourselves in that moment, okay, this isn't necessarily against me. This is my child being a child in a challenging environment. This mental reframing helps us stay calmer, which is essential because our reaction sets the tone. If we can approach the situation with a bit more understanding, we're better equipped to respond effectively rather than just react emotionally. It's about recognizing that their behavior is often a communication of a need for movement, for exploration, for help regulating, or a reflection of their current capabilities, rather than an intentional personal insult. This understanding is the bedrock upon which other strategies can be built. Now, building on that crucial understanding of why a child might behave this way in public, let's move to the next layer, the power of preparation and prevention. While we can't prevent all challenging behavior, a significant amount of it can be mitigated by setting the stage for success before you even step out the door, or certainly before you enter the potentially challenging environment within your outing. Think of it like this. Expecting a young child to walk calmly down a grocery aisle filled with tempting items, or sit quietly through a long restaurant meal without any prior preparation or understanding of what's expected, is a bit like asking someone to run a marathon without ever having trained. They might manage a little way, but they're likely to stumble or simply give up. Preparation involves talking to your child in advance about where you're going and what the expectations are. This isn't a one-time lecture. It's a calm, simple conversation tailored to their age and understanding, revisited before each outing until the expectations become more ingrained. For instance, before going into the supermarket, you might sit with your child for a moment outside in the car, or just before you open the door, and say something like, "Okay, buddy, we're going into the store. Remember, our job in the store is to keep our feet walking, stay close to mom's cart, and keep our hands to ourselves, unless we're helping put things in the cart. When we're all done staying close and using walking feet, we can get a sticker when we get back to the car." For a park visit where you need them to stay within certain boundaries, the talk might be, "Yay, park time! We can run and play. Remember the big tree over there? We need to stay between that tree and the swings, okay? If you go past the tree, I need you to come right back so I can keep you safe. Can you show me where you're going to play?" This gives them a clear, visual boundary instead of an abstract command like "don't run far." Before visiting someone's house, the conversation could be, "We're going to Aunt Carol's house. It's fun to see new things at her house. Remember, everything there belongs to Aunt Carol. If you see something you want to look at, you need to use your words and ask Aunt Carol or me first, like, 'Can I look at this?' Okay?" And we use walking feet inside. These proactive conversations serve several purposes. First, they give the child a heads up and reduce the element of surprise. Second, they state the expectations clearly before the child is immersed in a stimulating environment where it's harder to process instructions. Third, they frame the expectations positively, focusing on what you want them to do. Keep feet walking, stay close, ask first, rather than just what not to do. Fourth, linking the desired behavior to a positive outcome, even a small one, like a sticker, or simply your praise, can provide motivation. Beyond just the conversation, preparation can also involve ensuring basic needs are met. Is your child hungry, tired, or needing to use the restroom? These fundamental needs can dramatically impact a child's ability to regulate their behavior and listen. A hungry child is a dysregulated child, and no amount of instruction will override that biological drive. So, a quick snack, a bathroom stop, or choosing outing times when your child is typically well-rested can be incredibly effective preventative measures. Another simple yet powerful preparation tool is giving the child a role or a job. In the supermarket, can they hold the list? Can they help spot the bananas? Can they push a small child-sized cart, if available and manageable? At the park, can they be the spotter for swings? When visiting, can they carry a small, pre-approved toy from home? Giving them a sense of purpose and engagement can reduce the likelihood of them seeking stimulation through running or touching things they shouldn't. Preparation isn't foolproof, of course. Kids are still kids, and the world is distracting. But by investing a few minutes beforehand to set expectations, address basic needs, and involve your child, you significantly increase the chances of a smoother outing and reduce the frequency of those challenging moments where they seem to tune you out completely. It's about stacking the deck in everyone's favor. Now, what happens when, despite our best efforts at preparation and our understanding of their perspective, we're in the thick of it? The running has started, the yelling is in full swing, the hands are exploring forbidden territory. This brings us to our third core idea: responding effectively in the moment. Calm is your superpower. This is arguably the hardest part because our nervous systems are usually activated by this point: frustration, embarrassment, urgency. But how we respond in that moment is critical. The first and perhaps most challenging piece of advice here is to try to remain as calm as possible. I know, easier said than done when your child is halfway down the frozen foods aisle or charming the restaurant with their bellowing. But remember, children mirror our energy. If we escalate our voice and energy, they are likely to match it or increase theirs. Taking a deep breath, counting to 3, or having a go-to calming phrase for yourself, "Okay, I can handle this," before you respond can make a huge difference. Your calm can help de-escalate their heightened state. Once you've taken that moment, get down to their level if possible. Eye contact can help cut through the noise and stimulation. Instead of shouting across the aisle or the room, move closer. Lowering yourself physically also often helps you lower your voice automatically, forcing you to use a calmer tone. Then, deliver your instruction, but how you deliver it matters. Instead of reactive commands like "stop running" or "be quiet," which focus on the negative behavior and can be hard for a child to process in the heat of the moment, try to redirect them towards the desired behavior. Connect the behavior to the environment. For the runner in the store, get down low, make eye contact, and calmly say, "Feet need to walk inside the store. The floor is hard, and people are busy. Let's practice walking feet with Mom." Gently take their hand or place a hand on their back to guide them into a walk. For the yeller in the restaurant, lean in close and whisper, "Wow, that's a loud voice." In the restaurant, we use quiet table voices, like this. Demonstrate a soft voice. Can you try your quiet voice? Again, it's directing them to the right behavior for the setting. For the explorer touching things in someone's home or a store display, gently and kindly remove their hand if necessary. Get down to their level and say, "Remember what we talked about? We need to keep our hands off these things unless we ask first. These belong to person, stoy." Let's keep our hands in our pockets by our side right now. If it's appropriate to ask, guide them. Would you like to ask Aunt Carol if you can look at that? But be prepared for the answer to be no if it's a delicate item. The key is to be firm and clear, but also kind and connected. You're not being mean. You're setting a boundary for their safety, for the respect of others, and for navigating the world appropriately. Avoid shaming language like, "You're being so naughty," or "Why can't you just listen?" Focus on the behavior and the expectation. What if they continue to ignore you after this calm redirection? This is where you might need a planned, calm consequence that removes them from the stimulating situation or provides a moment for regulation. This isn't a punishment meant to inflict pain or shame. It's a logical response to the behavior. In the supermarket, it looks like it's too hard to use walking feet right now. We need to stay close to the cart. Since you're still running, we're going to stand right here next to the cart with Mom for 1 minute to get our bodies calm before we try walking again. For persistent running or inability to stay close, the consequence might be leaving the store after a clear warning. If you can't keep your feet walking and stay close to the cart, we will have to leave the store and come back another time when it's easier. And if the behavior continues, you follow through, calmly stating, "Okay, running feet mean we need to leave the store. We'll try again another day." In the restaurant, it looks like your voice is too loud for our table voices. We need to remember quiet voices. Let's step outside for just a moment to get some wiggles out and practice our quiet voices before we come back in. In someone's home, remember, we keep our hands off things that aren't ours unless we ask. Since it's hard to remember right now, we're going to sit with Mom, Dad for a few minutes away from the things. Consistency and follow-through are crucial here, delivered calmly and without anger. This teaches the child that your words have meaning and that there are predictable outcomes for their choices. Not because you're mean, but because these are the rules for functioning in these environments. It's about teaching cause and effect within a safe, loving relationship. The calm part is your superpower because it allows you to think clearly and respond intentionally, rather than react impulsively out of frustration. It takes practice, a lot of practice, but it gets easier. Now, while responding in the moment is essential for navigating the current situation, true change and the development of self-regulation and respect happen over time. This leads us to our fourth core idea: teaching the skills and reinforcing positive behavior outside the challenging moment. The moments of running, yelling, and grabbing in public aren't just isolated incidents. They are indicators of skills that your child is still developing. You are their primary teacher in learning these skills. Trying to teach a child while they are in the throes of excitement or dysregulation is incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible. Their brains are not in a state to absorb new information or practice complex behaviors. The real teaching often happens when everyone is calm, regulated, and connected. Think about what specific skills your child needs to succeed in these public scenarios. They need skills like body awareness and control, understanding where their body is in space and how to control their movement, walking feet versus running feet, voice modulation, understanding appropriate volume for different settings, impulse control, being able to pause before acting on an urge, like grabbing something, respect for property, understanding that some things belong to others and require permission to interact with, staying close, understanding and respecting physical boundaries for safety. These skills can be taught and practiced in low-stakes environments at home. For example, you can play games that involve practicing different kinds of movement. Okay, let's use our walking feet like we're in the store, followed by a few steps of exaggeratedly slow walking. Or, now let's use our running feet because we're outside. This helps them differentiate. You can play games about voice volume. Can you use your mouse voice? Now your lion voice. Now your indoor talking voice. To practice asking permission or respecting property, use their own toys. Can I borrow your red block? Thank you. Encourage them to ask you before using your phone or touching something on your desk. Play pretend scenarios. Let's play store. You're the customer and I'm the shopkeeper. Remember, we ask the shopkeeper before we touch things. Reading books about going to the store, the park, or visiting friends' houses can also be a fantastic tool. Many children's books touch upon themes of behavior, listening, and respecting rules in public places. Discuss the characters' actions and how they navigated the situation. Crucially, make sure you are also modeling the behavior you want to see. Do you use your inside voice at home? Do you ask your partner before borrowing something? Do you talk about respecting other people's space? Children learn so much by observing us, and just as important as teaching the skills is reinforcing the positive behavior when you do see it. Catch them being good. In the middle of a potentially challenging outing, when your child remembers to use walking feet for even a short stretch, or uses their quiet voice, or asks before touching something, acknowledge it specifically and immediately. Wow, you are using walking feet right next to the cart, just like we talked about. That makes me feel so happy and safe. Thank you for remembering. Or, I noticed you used your quiet voice when you talked to me just now. Great job remembering our restaurant voices. This specific positive reinforcement tells them exactly what behavior you value and encourages them to repeat it far more effectively than focusing only on correcting the negative. This ongoing teaching and positive reinforcement outside of the high-stress moments is where the real long-term change happens. It's about building a toolkit of social and self-regulation skills within your child, not just trying to control their behavior in the moment. It's a patient process, requiring repetition and understanding that progress isn't always linear. Some days will be better than others, and that's completely normal. So we've talked about understanding their perspective, preparing for success, responding calmly and effectively in the moment, and teaching skills proactively. These aren't isolated techniques, but woven together, they form a compassionate and effective approach to navigating those challenging public moments. As we wrap up this conversation, I want to offer a gentle reflection. Navigating moments when our children seem to be ignoring us, especially in public, is profoundly challenging. It touches on our deepest desires for them to be safe, to be respectful members of society, and honestly, our own human need to feel heard and effective as parents. The feelings of frustration, embarrassment, and even inadequacy in those moments are real and valid. But remember, you are not alone in this journey. Every parent faces these hurdles. The goal isn't perfection. A child who never runs, never yells, never reaches for something they shouldn't. That's an unrealistic expectation of childhood development. The journey is about progress, about understanding, and about strengthening the connection between you and your child, even through the difficult times. By choosing to respond with empathy first, by proactively preparing them, by striving for calm in the storm, and by patiently teaching and reinforcing the skills they need, you are doing incredible work. You are building not just compliance, but competence and confidence in your child. You are teaching them how to navigate the world, how to respect others and their environment, not through fear, but through guidance and connection. It's a process of small steps forward, sometimes with steps back. But every effort you make towards understanding and connection is a brick laid in the foundation of a strong family bond. Give yourself grace on the tough days. Celebrate the tiny victories. You are capable, You are loving, and you are exactly what your child needs to learn and grow. Keep showing up, keep trying, and trust in the process and in your connection. If these ideas resonated with you, or if you found a little bit of comfort and practical guidance in our chat today, I'd be so grateful if you consider giving this video a thumbs up. Liking helps us know that this content is helpful and allows us to reach more parents who might be struggling with these same challenges. And if you haven't already, please think about subscribing to the Family Connection Hub. We're a community of parents navigating the ups and downs of family life together, sharing ideas, encouragement, and support. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future conversations. And if you know another parent who could benefit from hearing this message, please share it with them. Building this community helps us all feel less alone and more empowered on our parenting journeys. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, you've got this. Keep connecting, keep understanding, and keep building that amazing family of yours. I'll see you next time.